Well, speaking of things that dramatically misrepresent chi,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
so first off,
yeah.
you got the unfortunate news on Friday, and I swear the problem with doing a Thursday show
Mhm.
is that as time has gone on, there have been like a few disadvantages to doing a Thursday show. One is that we don't know what the Friday preview or the Thursday night previews are for movies, so we can't really predict their box office that well.
Yeah.
So it's like this weekend, the big release is the um, the Society of Magical Gamer Words.
Yeah.
We have no idea how that's going to actually do.
Yeah.
Uh, but it seems like bad news always drops on Friday, so we're always late to the late to the game on this. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, beloved Japanese creator Akira Toriyama passed away on March 1st of a subdural hematoma. And there have been subsequent reports since then that he may have also had a brain tumor,
Oh.
which I
Uh,
suppose would explain a subdural hematoma.
yes. Yeah.
Daniel, are you familiar with his work very much? I know that you aren't a Dragon Ball guy.
No, I'm not really familiar with it. Yeah.
I'm going to list a couple of other things you might have possibly run into. Did you ever play Chrono Trigger?
I've heard of Chrono Trigger, but I never played it.
Did you ever play any of the Dragon Quest RPGs?
I don't believe I did. No.
Okay, not being Japanese, there's a higher chance. It's kind of funny. Like Final Fantasy is the big one in the West. Dragon Quest seems to be more of a Japan thing.
No.
But
Yeah.
but he basically Akira Toriyama was a revolutionary figure in Japanese media on several levels.
Mhm.
The guy was a workhorse, um, and he was an artist who was always willing to experiment. I mean, at his heart, he was a gag manga artist who was very much. He always kept a certain levity in his works, even when things got serious.
Yeah.
Um, he actually started drawing manga. Like he loved manga. He actually was more of a manga guy than an anime guy. Like he recently, just a couple months back, got a lifetime achievement award in anime from some animation or anime society, and he apparently admitted that he didn't really watch all that much anime because he preferred the manga. And like in high school, he'd been the head of a manga club or something.
Okay.
But in the '70s, he got his start. He started drawing manga just to make a living, and he was always willing to push himself. Like he had done a few one shots, but his first one that hit big enough to be a series was called Doctor Slump, and he was always like, "I can't draw cute girls." Well, what was Doctor Slump about? A cute little girl android made by a somewhat perverted creator, and so he had to push himself.
Yeah.
Um, and so he did that continuously through the '70s and early '80s. Then 1984 comes along, and he's trying to come up with another thing. And after a couple of years of development, by the way, this is while he's still making Doctor Slump.
Yeah.
1984 comes along, and out comes Dragon Ball, which originally started as a take on the Chinese myth, the Journey to the West,
Yeah.
and morphed quite a bit between that initial inspiration point and what it became as it. And as Ninja says, he also wrote by the chapter instead of having a big outline.
Mm.
Like it's actually amazing that his stories don't have more inconsistencies of plot holes that they actually have, considering that the guy took no breaks.
Wow.
It's like from the late '70s through 1995 when Dragon Ball's manga wrapped up.
Mm.
He was doing
Wow.
that, and he did the character designs for Chrono Trigger, and he did the character designs for every single Dragon Quest game.
Wow.
And then after that, and he also did the one for the Xbox 360 exclusive RPG Blue Dragon.
Mm.
Um, he also did what do you call it? Uh, he also did a whole bunch of one shot mangas.
Yeah.
And again, the guy was definitely willing to reinvent himself because the guy went from being a gag manga artist to being the defining action shonen manga creator for a whole generation. Like
Wow.
when the word of his passing got out, you had the creators of One Piece and Naruto and everybody else coming out to just pay tribute and what they owed them in his imagination or from their imaginations.
Wow. Yeah.
Like the creator of One Piece specifically said before Toriyama came out, reading manga would make you stupider. And Toriyama changed the game.
Wow.
And I think that for like if I was going to describe the appeal of Dragon Ball, his most famous creation, to a non uh, to a non Dragon Ball fan, I would say it's kind of like the fun of Silver and Bronze Age Superman.
Mm.
Because you have these Dragon Balls that can grant any wish, you don't necessarily have the most stakes in a lot of the stories, although he was quite good at withdrawing them at key moments
Yeah.
by having a character who was tied to them die, or having them stolen, or just or like having no way to get to them in time.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, Ninja says he considers Toriyama the greatest mangaka, and that's saying something with the competition. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say he's definitely the most influential.
Mm.
Like, especially in Latin America. Latin America loves Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Well, but so I was getting back to, I got off my track there.
That's also
Like,
yeah.
like appeal of Dragon Ball is very much like Bronze and Silver Age Superman, where it's like
Yeah.
it's not necessarily about will this villain be able to beat Superman. It's like what off the wall stuff are they going to come up with this month?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the guy started off with Journey to the West, starring a little monkey boy on a flying cloud and a a rich teenage heiress uh, who could who had magical capsules that fit whole houses and stuff in them, to being the battle manga that defined battle manga, with where that little monkey boy turned out to be a space alien from a warrior race, and they were fighting the most ancient evil of the cosmos that was threatening to wipe out all life. Like it's
Well,
Dragon Ball is a little bit of everything. It's like a kitchen sink of sci-fi. Like it's got time travel, aliens, ancient demons, just like all
yeah.
like you read from start to finish, and you're not gonna see the same trick too many times.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's yeah. So he'll be missed. I realized that it didn't hit me. He didn't hit me. His loss didn't hit me as hard as Stan Lee, but that's only because Akira was a very private man. Like he did everything through email. He had no social media whatsoever that anyone's aware
Mm.
of.
Wow. Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know what his voice sounded like. I find it interesting that a lot of the pictures I found of him look to be from 20 years before this, which I think is telling.
Yeah.
Um, but he will be missed, and you know, Akira, thank you for expanding the imaginations of so many.
Yeah.
Especially, as I was about to say before I got back to my analogy, Latin America.
Oh yeah.
Like an amusing anecdote I heard, and I don't know if this is true, but it sounds true, is that they noticed decreases in Mexican cartel crime on days when new episodes of Dragon Ball Super were dropping.
Somehow that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
I've seen videos of in rural Mexico parades in the honor of him, with like the car made up to be the dragon and a bunch of cheerleaders walking behind it dressed like Vegeta
Okay.
as they blared Dragon Ball music.
Uh,